How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I'm doing good. A little bit tired.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot going on. Had a really busy week. I just feel like it's just been a heavy load, like with school and work. And I've had a lot of new relationship stuff happening lately that really has kind of been a reminder for me of how distracting relationship stuff is for me, or
Okay.
can be.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess there's so much to say. I don't know how to bring this up. So over the last couple days, I've been like very intentionally kind of trying to get a grasp or just get a grip on what's going on, because I feel like when I'm at work, I'm like really involved in work, and then when I'm in class and when I'm in class, I'm like really involved in school, and then I create time. It's always like there's so much schoolwork to do. I'm just always trying to create time to like make sure I get that all done, and then like there's time to be spent with friends, and then there's like time to like go on a date, and romantic relationships tend to be the topic for me during counseling session, because it's just something that I've had a hard time with as a young adult, because my parents got divorced when I was young.
Okay.
So I've been working on it / in recovery in a way for the last 2-3 years. I started like counseling about 3 years ago, and I just feel like it's been really helpful. But I've learned tools that I am implementing like today. So it doesn't necessarily mean that certain reactions aren't always there, but it just means that I can recognize those reactions and deal with them in a healthier way.
Right. So
I feel like there's been a little bit of drama in that department recently, and so I dated somebody for a few months, and then that clearly was not working out, so I ended the relationship and was like totally at peace with that.
Okay.
So I felt like that was actually a really strong and like healthy step for me. But then like within the first couple weeks of me being single, I feel like these two really great guys came into my life at about the same time.
Okay.
And so me being like, yeah, I'm free and single and can do whatever I want now, is like, yeah, I'll get to know them both. So I have gone on dates with both of them. I've spent time with both of them, and they're both really great guys.
Okay.
And so last week I was kind of thrown into a tizzy, because I was realizing how much I actually liked both of them. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Like, I'm literally like thinking about both of these people at the same time. Like, this is so rare for me. Like, this is so crazy. I don't even know what to do with this. And it really kind of, I was ruminating about it a whole lot. And it was like distracting from work and school, and I couldn't sleep. And it was just like really, really getting to me. And it still kind of is, because it's still a current issue.
Okay.
But I guess I've kind of been coming to terms with just the reality of it and being okay with that, which is I am single, I am young, and like it's okay to date and it's okay to have fun. And until I'm in a committed relationship, then that's a different story. But I feel like I was being really hard on myself, being like, this is wrong, like, you're living a lie, kind of a thing. And actually, as I said that just now, I just realized for the first time that maybe I have such a hard time with that because actually my dad, my dad did that. He kind of like lived a double life for a few years and was like telling my mom they were going to get remarried, and then he actually was like dating another woman who was like ready to marry him, and then he did marry her.
Okay.
Because my parents' divorce was like so confusing, because technically they didn't divorce because they hated each other. They divorced because my dad was being sued, and to like protect assets, they like put everything in my mom's name, got divorced with the intention of getting remarried and like starting over.
Okay.
And so there were like probably like 6 or 7 years, 5, 6, 7 years, where that was kind of like the tentative plan, and then it was just kind of like too long. We didn't know what was happening, and then like found out that my dad was like dating somebody and kind of living this double life, because he would still come. He lives in another state. He would still come visit and like play dad and like go along with the plan and whatever. So that was really confusing, and that was very hurtful. And I think that's why it was hard. It's hard for me to just like be happy and be free and be me and just like really think about my own needs, like in all dimensions. I almost feel like I have to decide, and I have to make the smartest decision and the best decision and the decision that's like I don't know. And so I've just been thinking about it like so much, because there's so much to take into account. I mean, they're like two completely different people, and they kind of affect me in different ways. But that's something that I'm like, that's something I'm exploring, is like, you know, because I feel like it pushed me like outside of myself, where I was like kind of like in this like fantasy, like overthinking kind of a place. But then once I realized I needed to spend some time alone. First of all, I was just like way too busy to like have the mental capacity to like process any of that, really. So after like having some alone time and like kind of meditate and pray and journal and go for a walk, think about it, or whatever, I feel better about it. But it's like I said, it's like still kind of a floating issue. So I don't really know.
So in your mind, you dating these two guys, and it's just dating at this point, right? Or
Yeah, if
okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay. Do you, obviously the connection between this situation and your dad, I mean, that's, you know, I understand why you would be feeling like this is wrong. But do you think that the level of seriousness is a little unequal?
Yeah, I do. And I think that's what I realize. It's like, no, like, I'm 25, I'm single, never been married. Like, yeah, I am looking to get married one day, so I guess ultimately that's what I'm looking for, but I don't have to decide, like, today who that is. It could be neither of these people. It could be one of them.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like accepting or being patient with the process, because ultimately people show their true colors over time. And like they might both seem really great in the beginning, but then like, you know, they might end up being shady people or whatever, you know. I don't know. And so I realized that as well. And I don't know. It's just very distracting.
Mm-hmm. So you said it was affecting your work and your attention at work and also at school, and that's not probably what you wanted to do.
Right.
How were you feeling before you started seeing these guys? With when you just had kind of yourself and your own things to worry about.
I felt really good. I felt like really like hopeful and excited for like whatever was to come in the next couple months.
Including relationships.
Yeah.
Or just
New relationships. Just doing whatever on my own time.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was just thankful that I wasn't in my last relationship anymore because that was like so unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm even like, shoot, like this problem is better than that relationship. So it's like still kind of like a good
right.
thing. So it's still positive.
Yeah.
I guess I'm very prone to worry. I'm very anxiety prone, and that can lead me to feel depressed because then I get like really confused, and then I just continue like ruminating about it, and it just kind of like it can really get to me, and so I don't know, because I really care about people and like I really connect with them, like, and if they're my personal friend and like potentially, you know, my romantic partner, then I really put a lot of myself into that.
Okay.
So I'm like practicing keeping enough distance to where like I don't feel super involved in it yet. And I think like it's just practicing establishing that boundary so that like I am still me and I'm like still taking care of my needs and knowing what those are, like knowing when to say I can't hang out on this day because I have too much to do, versus just like saying yes to whatever just because it's an opportunity.
Is that how you've done things in the past?
Probably without realizing it.
Okay.
And then later being like, I don't have enough time to like, or as much time as I would like to do all this other stuff for me.
Right. Okay. So the feelings of anxiety that can lead to depression, overthinking these things, have you learned anything from therapy that you've gone to in the past about how to deal with that in your day-to-day life?
Actually, yeah, and I would say that the most helpful thing is probably journaling. And I know this might sound silly, but it's like journaling, like loving phrases about myself, just kind of like repetitively, because it brings me like back to myself, whereas instead of just like all my attention and care being like on the other person, my attention like comes back to myself, and it like reminds myself like to take care of myself and to love myself, and like it kind of like brings back my connection with God and like my trust in God, and I don't know, I feel like that's probably the most helpful, because like when I'm just like thinking, and then it, like my thoughts just kind of go in like any direction down any path, like it kind of like brings it back. So it's more like having control of my thoughts.
Okay. And it sounds like you've had a lot of success in that. So what do you think about the place that you were in before, and then how your life has changed since starting to date these guys? Because it sounds, on one hand, it sounds like it isn't really too much of a problem. You know, you haven't gotten involved enough to really getting yourself into dangerous territory of leading one or both of them on, and you're just having a good time. But if it's worrying you, really taking up that much of your, your time and affecting your work and your school, do you think that is kind of a contrast between that?
Right. I know. And so that's why there's like conflicting parts of me that's like, you're young, have fun, date, experience life, learn different things about different people and yourself that will help you find your future partner.
Right.
And then there's the other part of me that's like, no time for shenanigans, like study, work, only you, be selfish, like, So those parts of myself don't really agree with each other, but they both exist.
Right.
And
so you want to find some balance between that. Yeah. Have you had a lot of issues kind of like this with the relationships in the past?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've definitely had tendencies to be codependent because that's kind of like the relationship I had with my mom, more so.
Okay.
So it's just, there's a lot of characteristics that have really been like trying to heal, and that's like what I refer to like when I say recovery, because like my mom grew up in a dysfunctional environment, and so like she carries all of these traits which then she passed to like me and my siblings.
Right.
And so like that coupled with my parents' divorce and like everything that I created like in my own mind has just manifested into relationship problems. And that's why going to counseling and therapy has been so helpful for me over the last couple of years. But it's a process, and a lot of these things I'm going to have to be paying attention to for the rest of my life and being very mindful of and being aware of and practicing. But I'm kind of still in that process. It's not like, I know it's there, so that means like I'm cured and it's never going to happen again. It's like, no, not necessarily. Like, but that's why I'm kind of like, I'm still recognizing these things, and I'm still trying to practice like what works, like what is healthy for me, like how do I establish these boundaries and not like push people away, because that it can go on the opposite spectrum where it's like I want to spend so much time with you, or like no, get out of my life, like I can't. And so it's like avoidant. So it's like trying to find like what's in the middle there too. So like, still maintaining a healthy relationship, but having time for myself too. Like maintaining a healthy relationship with myself.
Right. Yeah. So it sounds like you have a habit of maybe compartmentalizing your life a little bit, which isn't always a bad thing, but you have so many things going on. So, yeah, finding that balance is kind of tough because you want to take care of yourself, but, you want to have a good time. So where do you think maybe, like when you see a couple months from now, with these people that you're kind of seeing, how do you really see that playing out, do you think?
I think it could go multiple ways. I think, maybe I could start seriously dating one of them. Maybe they're both just meant to be good friends. And maybe I'm not dating anybody in a few months. I really don't know.
Is that okay with you, that you maybe wouldn't be dating one of them, or?
Yeah, I am okay with that. I am okay with that because ultimately, like, a relationship is not going to make me happy. Like, I am responsible for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like right now, like, I'm doing a pretty good job. Like, I feel content with my life. I'm, like, happy with the way my life is. And I'm, like, happy about this problem because it's, like, kind of a funny problem. Like, my life is great. I mean, it's just the worry that it brings me because
Okay.
I am prone to anxiety and
Right.
I guess more like just making sure, like, just like having a reality check and just making sure I don't go off into an unhealthy place with it, and just
Right.
like making sure that I maintain that, because before I have gone off into a ditch.
Mm-hmm. And I think that maybe you might be able to recognize it better this time. It sounds like you will be. But so how are you thinking about the situation now versus how you were thinking about it when you came in?
I guess I feel like it's understandable that I'm confused,
Mm-hmm.
but I still think it's healthiest to be lighthearted about it, and to make sure that I am setting a boundary for myself, to make sure that, like, my needs are completely met first before I sacrifice, my time and energy to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel good about it, but doesn't mean I might not be freaking out about it tomorrow.
Right.
So, but I guess I feel like I'm perpetuating the problem by continuing to talk to both of them. I feel like that's something that I'm, like, in control of.
Okay.
And so, like, cutting off either of them doesn't feel like the right thing to do. But getting closer to both of them at the same time does not feel right either.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just, like, hoping that it'll be clear soon what the relationship is supposed to be for both of them.
Okay. And how do you think, what do you think that might conspire to make that clear?
I think just being, like, really honest with myself about, like, how I feel with them, how they affect me, like, and then also being really honest with them
Mm-hmm.
about, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm at, with everything.
Yeah.
And that way they can kind of gauge too, like, do I want to pursue this girl, or am I okay with just being friends with her?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I think that you have all of the tools to, really take care of your own self first.
Yeah.
And you kind of know yourself really well, or at least, enough to really kind of navigate it.
Mm-hmm. It really helps, even though it sounds like, it might sound like I, like, know all the answers. It makes me feel so much better to, like, say it all.
Mm-hmm.
Because it, like, helps me to get it out.
Yeah.
So it's not just, like, stuck in me, and it's, like, I'm the only one to experience it. It helps me to get it out. It helps me, like, put it into words and hear myself say certain things.
Yeah.
So, like, I do feel like I have this, like, I don't know, cathartic feeling. Like, I had a lot to come out and then got it out.
Yeah. Nice to talk things out.
Yeah.
Especially, I don't know, this may help for you, but being able to talk it out and having to kind of describe it and think through it may help you really process it in your own mind.
Yeah.
Instead of just having it sit there
Yeah.
and constantly kind of ruminate, like you said.
Yes.
So, maybe seeking out when you're really feeling really frustrated and anxious about it, where it's kind of conflicting with other things that might be more important in that moment. Maybe journaling might be good, or just kind of getting it out of your mind for that one moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming back to it at a better time, more appropriate time to really think about it and discuss it.
Mm-hmm.
That might be helpful,
Yeah.
especially with, if you have things that you need to be working on or doing.